Every week, thousands of Vermonters scrape food into compost bins. But what if something else is slipping through? Vermont's nation-leading food scrap diversion law keeps food waste out of landfills and reduces methane emissions. But inside facilities like this, another challenge is growing.
We are the unfortunate recipients of a lot of this material.
This is the story of Vermont's compost revolution and the plastic problem hiding inside it.
So we are at Green Mountain Compost. It was actually called the CSWD, or Chittenden Solid Waste District Organics Recycling Facility. It's the home to the compost for Chittenden County, essentially. All the food scraps that are produced within the county, as well as a lot of the yard waste, even some horse manure and bedding, some other manures. They all come here and they get blended together, and we make really high quality finished product that is compost, and we sell it across the county of Chittenden County and beyond. But it all starts here with the arrival of food coming to our facility. Where did you pick up today?
I picked up around South Burlington.
South Burlington,
so
okay.
I had around 55 stops total.
As soon as all these materials are blended together, the microbes kind of start doing their thing, and they really drive the composting. You know, we facilitate that. We've got some big machines and a lot of people working at it, but the bacteria primarily in the beginning of the process are doing all the real work. Here, again, this has been here for about 5 weeks. It came in as steaks and meat and vegetables and fruit, and now it looks like, at least at my house, what the finished compost looks like after maybe a year. So it is incredibly efficient. Unfortunately, it also contains some of this stuff that is kind of our biggest enemy in the process. I don't know how to describe it. It's one of the challenges that we continually to struggle with, is trying to get people to not bring us material that is not organic. So we can take anything that used to be alive. We can take food, we can take manures, we can take plant material of all types, but plastics are not welcome. So it's a struggle.
With vacuums and screens, Dan and his team work tirelessly to remove every scrap of plastic. Dan opens a dumpster to show the many plastic bags they've removed.
So one of our recent innovations was this vacuum system, and it is unbelievable how effective it is at pulling out plastic. This, believe it or not, is all liner bags, primarily. Different colors, different brands, got some Ziploc bags in there, and they're all almost entirely coming in with food scraps. And so it does a really good job at picking them out, and we're able to contain them and then send them off to the landfill. But boy, what I would give to have them not come in at all, because it really complicates our process, and we spend a lot of time and effort cleaning everything up. And it's easily avoidable if folks know the right thing to do. They can, make sure that any liner bags that they're sending our way are indeed certified compostable. This one is actually a certified compostable bag. So it says that right there. It's a really important label. And it's got all the certifications on there. And that way we know that actually, it's made out of vegetable matter. It's synthetically produced, but it does break down in the compost system.
Dan says many bags look compostable, but they're not.
From a distance, you would think that these are probably the same, right?
Yeah,
well, let's take a look at these. This one says Biograde, I believe, is the brand name on this. You would think it's green. It's probably what we want. Well, it's not. It is not certified compostable, and in fact, it's just polyethylene. It's just a trash bag that happens to be made green. This one is really confusing. It says reusable, recyclable, and biodegradable.
Reduces landfill volume, helps the environment.
None of that is true. Hopefully someday we'll be able to put some controls into place to reduce that confusion, but in the meantime, if folks can just take that extra minute to make sure if their liner bags say certified compostable, that's okay.
Then Dan told me one more surprising way that we can help.
Looking at these cups, can you tell me which one is compostable and which one is not? I would guess the answer is not. Well, because they look identical. This
Right.
one happens to be certified compostable. This one is not. A really small scale composter, maybe you can take the extra time to check every label, but that's not very practical for most compost facilities. So it just ends up in the landfill anyway. So again, people trying to do the right thing, but creates more problem than not. So we no longer accept compostable products like these.
The end result of Dan's team's hard work is high-quality compost. But researchers are studying what can happen when plastics enter food waste systems and break down into tiny fragments known as microplastics.
So microplastics are very small plastic particles. So the exact definition of microplastic size varies, but generally we're looking at particles that are less than 5 millimeters in size and often less than 1 millimeter in size. So these are really tiny, tiny particles.
Dr. Eric Roy leads research at the University of Vermont's Casella Center for Circular Economy, a hub focused on rethinking waste and materials, including how plastic particles move through our environment.
Plastic does not degrade quickly in the environment. Instead, it tends to break apart. So it's not going away, it's just breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. And so those small microplastic pieces can remain in the environment for a really long time. Once it's in the soil, it lasts well beyond our lifetime. We're talking tens to hundreds to thousands of years, depending on the particle type. And so we're concerned about that because it can affect ecosystems. It might affect plants growing in the soil. And we need to better understand how much microplastic pollution is entering the environment and then what happens once it's there.
That question led researchers to take a closer look at what comes out of food waste systems, including compost operations and anaerobic digesters on farms. Digesters break down organic waste to produce renewable energy and a nutrient-rich fertilizer known as digestate.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the benefit. The benefit of bringing food waste in is it will help boost biogas production. So the anaerobic digester can produce more methane-rich biogas. And now the trade-off is some of these materials will have impurities like microplastic pollution. And so we don't want those fibers that are being recycled for bedding to have bits of plastic in them. We don't want the material that's being used as a fertilizer to be spreading plastic onto the fields. This actually started a long time ago by accident, where we were looking at one particular site that was accepting what we call post-consumer food waste. And we were just surprised by how much we were seeing, how much plastic we were seeing in some of those samples. This was very early days. You know, this was probably around 2017 or so.
But what stood out wasn't just how much plastic they found. It was how consistently it showed up.
It's pretty much across the board. When there's food waste involved that has been associated with packaging, we are finding kind of persistent low levels of contamination.
Dr. Roy's team had confirmed that microplastics were present in food waste. But measuring how much was there posed a new challenge.
So as we started doing more and more work in this space, especially with food waste, we realized the plastic part of the problem is really poorly understood. So nobody had really quantified what level of microplastic pollution was in these materials. And no one had looked carefully at, as we move food waste from landfills to practices like composting or anaerobic digestion, what potential unintended consequences might occur with plastic pollution. Still to this day, most microplastics work in environmental science has focused on water. So understanding the movement of microplastic particles through rivers, into lakes, and how they are affecting aquatic ecosystems. Now, when you have a water sample, you can kind of simply filter that water sample to extract the particles. That's a fairly straightforward task. So now go to the other end of the spectrum where we work, and we might get a food waste slurry. So this is old decomposing food waste that has been kind of mixed and is in a slurry form. It's like a smoothie gone bad. And so now we can't simply filter that material because it has a lot of organic chunks in it. One of the key things that we had to figure out to do is how do we get rid of enough of the organic matter in the sample so that we can find the microplastics. So it took a lot of trial and error to get that step right. But ultimately, we were able to devise methods that help us kind of preserve the integrity of the plastic samples while getting rid of enough of the organic matter and being able to find those particles of plastic in the material in a way that we felt confident was representative of the sample.
This groundbreaking research at UVM meant that, for the first time, scientists could measure how much microplastic is present in food waste. And with that comes the question of what to do next.
The first in my mind is to reduce the amount of unnecessary plastic packaging for food in the first place. There's also changing what we're using for that plastic, and so moving to polymer types that are less problematic, polymer types that are biodegradable in the environment. Then there's work on the human behavior front, like finding ways to get people to comply more easily and better with separation programs.
Despite this plastic problem, Dr. Roy still believes Vermont's organic diversion law is a major step forward, and that these challenges, in many ways, are the result of being first.
The main driver of that law and other laws like it is the fact that once food waste is added to landfills, it generates methane gas. Methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. Folks are looking for ways to kind of remove that problem altogether and create beneficial resources with that food waste instead. So by taking it from a landfill and then sending it to composting, we can recover the nutrients in that food waste, some of the carbon, and mix it with other feedstocks to create soil amendments that can be beneficial for crop nutrition. So from a climate perspective, this is wonderful. This is a really important step towards reducing the climate impacts of the food system. The potential unintended consequence of this, one of them is plastic pollution. And when you're one of the first to implement a new policy, you have to learn some of the lessons first as well.
Composting remains one of the best tools we have to fight climate change, and Vermont is learning as it goes, building a model that others may one day follow. Like any system, it only works if we understand what goes into it and what doesn't. In Waterbury, Vermont, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence.